So friends, I welcome you to the financing options and modes. I'm Shivshankar, faculty member of IABF. So today's topic is financing options and modes. So I'll discuss with you certain topics on financing options. What are the options available to the MSME sector? So in this session, we'll be learning something about what are the problems faced by MSME sector and what are the sources of financing and what are the assessment methods and what are the appraisal methods and what are the financial products available for the MSMEs. So next, let us discuss, before we start the session, so let us analyze what are the MSMEs. So MSMEs, as per the Government of India classification, there are two types of sectors. One is a manufacturing sector, another one is a service sector. So here the MSME classification is based on the investment in the cost of the equipment or plant and machinery. For manufacturing sector, we take plant and machinery, and for the service sector, we take cost of equipment as a criteria for classification of the amount, classification of the accounts. So micro enterprises up to 10 lakh rupees, what is the investment is there, then they will be classified as a micro enterprises. And small enterprises more than 10 lakhs and up to 200 lakhs, that is a 2 crores, they are classified as a small enterprises. And medium enterprises about 2 crores and up to 5 crores. So these are the service enterprises. And manufacturing enterprises, micro enterprises up to 25 lakhs. So investment in the plant and machinery. And small enterprises 25 lakhs to 5 crores. And medium enterprises 5 crores to 10 crores. So this is the amount of investment in the plant and machinery. So whatever the investment made according to the classification, based on that, they will be classified accordingly, either micro, small, or medium. Let us discuss what is the importance of MSME sector. So MSME sector, in fact, it is a backbone of Indian economy. So roughly 90% of the total enterprises are in the overall, in any of the countries, up to 90% of the total enterprises are MSME sector. In India also, roughly about 30% of India's GDP is contributed by the MSME sector. And around 45% of the manufacturing output, it is coming from the MSME sector itself. And roughly about 40% of the exports, they come from MSME sector. And in fact, the MSME sector is providing employment to second only to agriculture. Agriculture is giving employment to roughly about 60 crore population, whereas the MSME sector, it is giving employment to about 11 crore people. So roughly about 6.34 crores units are there as per the last year's balance sheet of MSME sector. Roughly about 6.34 crores MSME units are there. There are about 6,000 units MSME sectors. They are available in the MSME sector. And in fact, MSME sector, they are complementary to large industries sector like your maybe automobile sector, maybe other manufacturing sector. They are ancillary sector. They provide support services to the ancillary services. Like maybe it could be the Maruti, it could be Honda, it could be any sector. They are providing ancillary services. Several industries are dependent on main companies like automobile sector. So they are all ancillary sectors. They provide all sorts of spare parts and components, etc., to the large corporates. So indirectly, they are also contributing to the Indian economy. And in fact, it not only that, roughly 99% of the MSME sector is only in micro sector. So that means below 25 crores or 25 lakhs investment in the plant and machinery for the micro sector, and service sector up to 10 lakhs. So 99%, roughly 99% of the micro enterprise MSME sector, it's coming from the micro sector itself. So indirectly, it is an inclusive growth. So all the below poverty line people are included under the micro sector. So that's why. So MSME sector is giving a large employment to the people. Roughly about that's what I discussed. That's about 11 crore people are dependent on the MSME sector, and they're operational flexible. So they're not like The MSME sector gives an opportunity for large flexibility in their operations, not like your 10 to 5 operations or 10 to 7 operations like that. So they got operational flexibility. MSME sector also gives push for the import substitution. So we are importing several components, maybe manufacturing related activities or some other activities. We are importing several components. There, in fact, the MSME sector helping us to substitute these imports with our domestic supplies. So this MSME sector makes it possible, where socially inclusive growth is also possible through MSME sector. And what are the problems the MSME sector is facing now? So in fact, MSME sector, as we discussed, so 99% of the people are below poverty line. So they are they do not have much collaterals. They are first-time entrepreneurs, etc. Because of that, the risk is high in terms of MSME sector. So that's why the banks generally do not finance the MSME sector, because they are a failure. Several accounts are being classified as NPAs. So that's why banks are also reluctant to give the finance to the MSME sector. Even if they give the finance, they are giving it at a very high cost. Maybe it could be when the corporates are getting at 8% or 8.5% rate, these MSMEs are getting the finance at 12%, 13%, much 2-3% more than the corporates. So because they are not able to give the collaterals, they are first-time entrepreneurs. Because of that, the problems are being faced by the MSMEs. They are not getting adequate credit. And even if the credit is available, it is available at a very high cost. MSMEs, in fact, I told you, they are new entrepreneurs. They do not have first-time entrepreneurs. They do not They do not have a corporate background earlier years. So these MSME sectors, they do not know the procedures. They do not know where the products are available, which government agency to be approached, and which bank to be approached, etc. They do not have any idea. They have only concept. They know the concept, how to make a unit or something, but they do not have any source where the funds can be available, where the marketing is available. So what is how the government is working? So which department to be working approached on? These agencies, these MSMEs do not have much idea. So that's why they are a source of failure. They require a resource person to help them to complete all the formalities. And the MSME sector, they are first generation entrepreneurs. They do not have a past background like where the established units are there, and they are continuing the activity. Here, they are first-time entrepreneurs. They do not have any idea about what is the marketing potential, etc. And they do not have a collateral to offer for the bank facilities. So, and MSME sector, they require lower working capital limits, lower funds, maybe about 2 crores, 3 crores, 5 crores like that. They do not require much amount. For that, they cannot go to alternate sources like your corporate accounts. They go for the capital market for raising the funds. Maybe they go to Bombay Stock Exchange, they go to National Stock Exchange, etc. They tap the market because they have the resources, they have the people there to mobilize the people, etc. But here, the small entrepreneurs, they require a small amount of limits, and they cannot have alternate sources of capital markets. Although that BSE platform is there, NSE platform is there for MSMEs, but somehow they are not working well. They are not able to meet the requirement of MSME sectors. And MSMEs do not have a proper infrastructure where all the facilities are available, like water, power, drainage, etc., maybe your pollution, etc. And all these facilities, they are not available at certain places. They are working in the rural areas because they do not have proper infrastructure there. That's why the government of India is coming out with certain infrastructure facilities. They are providing certain zones where MSME sectors, MSME zones have been identified, and now somehow these problems are being addressed. if you see the ease of doing the business, in fact, as per last year's report, there are about 60 government agencies to be identified for setting up one unit. 60 government agencies have to be approached, different departments have to be approached to get a formal clearances, licenses, etc. You can imagine what will be the amount of workload is involved, because these are all single persons. Only 1%, 2% will be available in MSME units, not like your corporates where several people are professionals are engaged to deal with situations. Here, only one person is available. The promoter is himself will be doing all these activities. So he will not be able to approach all the departments simultaneously. Not only that, 60 government agencies to be approached. Not only that, they have to submit about 120 annual returns to be submitted to the government department. You can imagine what is the workload involved in that. And in fact, World Trade Organization, or maybe globalization of the economy, the corporates, they have got a competence to deal with several products of. They can compete. They are efficient in managing the other countries' products. Whereas a small MSME sector, they do not have that much required infrastructure to compete with these agencies working outside. Their products are not that competitive. So that's why they're not able to export much. Their capacity is very much limited here. Like any other industry, several MSMEs are also failure because several reasons. Because maybe because of their own constraints or because of the external constraints, some of the units are getting sick. So the units are being identified as NPS, and they are being closed. And whenever these sick units are closed, we do not have an alternate mechanism to exit. Suppose an account becomes NPA, the promoter always will be identified as tagged as NPA borrower. So he will not approach any other bank. He cannot approach any other banker. So for them, then an exit mechanism to be provided. So as of now, under IBC process, that mechanism is provided. So it is going to solve certain issues. But the IBC also has got certain limitations there. They're not able to meet the large corporate accounts also. So still they are facing a lot of problem in exit mechanism. And because these are all small units, they do not have proper capital. They have a limited capital. They're not able to upgrade their infrastructure. Like your corporates, they're doing the infrastructure upgradation every time. Whenever the need is there, they'll be upgrading the technology. Whereas small MSMEs, they'll not be able to, because they do not have much capital. So they'll not be able to upgrade their technology. So this is one disadvantage for the MSME, because of this, they're not able to compete with the other corporates as well as for the other global companies. Not only that, in the MSME sector, they got longer receivables cycle, delayed the receivables, even though they supply to the corporates, because they have the muscle power, they have the money power. The corporates have the money power. They dictate the terms to the MSMEs. They hold them to the ransom. Okay, we'll pay you 3 months later, we will pay you 4 months later. That they do not have proper infrastructure to. If they demand more, the MSME will be, that borrower will be blacklisted. So because apprehending those problems, so they silently accept the receivables. Whenever they pay, they accept those receivables. So that is a problem being faced by the MSME. Because they're all MSMEs are small units. They do not engage professionals. And whoever is the labor, they're unskilled or skilled or semi-skilled laborers. So they do not have proper trained manpower. So these are the problems being faced by the MSME sector as of now. So there are certain other limitations also, because the MSMEs, as we discussed, the classification that is up to 5 crores, that is up to 10 lakhs for the micro enterprises, 2 crores small enterprise, and 2 crores to 5 crores small enterprises. They have a limited capital, not like your corporates where they have their funds are more than 500 crores, 1,000 crores, etc. These are small units. As I discussed with you, that up to 90% of 99% of the MSME sector is micro enterprise, that is below 10 lakhs in the service sector, at 25 lakhs in the manufacturing sector. They have a limited capital. Not only that, most of the MSMEs are located in rural areas where they do not have proper capital facility. They have the limited capital with them. Because of that, they cannot go for further R&D. Whereas corporates, they have some amount earmarking out of the profits for research and development. Whereas MSMEs, they do not have that much capital to go for upgradation of machinery, or they do not have proper capital to go for R&D. Because of this, because of the inadequate capital, they cannot compete with the global agencies, global companies. They will not be able to compete. Their inefficiency in operations, their cost of funding is high, their cost of operations is very high. So because of that, they are not able to compete with the other large corporates or global companies. As I discussed with you, they are only promoter-driven companies. Promoters do everything for themselves. They do not have proper professionals to help them, maybe financial professions, etc. They do not have proper people there to handle them. So only promoter, they will be taking all the decisions. So there is lack of professionalism in their operations. That too, mostly they are one person or two persons, maybe family labor, etc. They'll be engaged in that. So because of that, there is no professionalism in their operations. And majority of the MSMEs, they do not have any exposure to the international environment, how the environment is working outside. So they are limited to maybe their local operations, maybe within the small that village, or they can, at the most, they can go to the district level. So they do not have any exposure to the international operations. So that is these are the factors limiting their growth actually. Suppose they approach bankers. What type of problems bankers are facing with MSMEs, and what MSMEs are facing problem with the lenders, bankers. So bankers' point of view, they are also correct, because the MSMEs, they do not have proper documentation with them. This is one constraint with them, and all their balance sheets, they are not structured balance sheets, so they will not be able to analyze the balance sheets well. And because of this, the cost of operations is very high in terms of MSMEs, because there are more number of borrowers are there to cover. Because to cover maybe let's say about 5 lakhs or 10 lakh rupees, we can cover one borrower here. Whereas a corporate, we can give 100 crores in one corporate. So with 100 crores, we can cover about 1,000 people here. So that means cost of operations, the cost of servicing the units is very high in terms of lenders. And not only that, even the bankers do not have that much technical expertise to deal with all sorts of MSME activities. Maybe it could be handloom, it could be the car industry, it could be any other industry. They do not have that much exposure to these activities. So they are not able to understand the problems of the MSMEs. So that is creating a problem for the lenders also. Not only that, even the MSMEs, they require a lot of handholding experience in the bankers. When they come to the bank, because they are illiterate, semi-literate, etc. So they require a lot of handholding there. So bankers do not have that much professional service there. So they are not able to cater to their requirements of MSMEs. Whereas from the MSME point of view, so what are the problems they are facing with the lenders? One is the loan approval process. It takes several weeks, not only days. It takes, maybe it could be months together. They will not be able to get any reply from the bankers. Of course, I am also a banker. We were facing these problems. Maybe to finance one MSME unit, we used to take about 3-4 months time, because we have other constraints. Not because we do not want to do that. We got other engagements. We are occupied with certain other engagements. So that's why we are not able to focus more on the MSMEs. So that's why it is taking 3 months, 4 months, 5 months time. And MSMEs, because they are first-time entrepreneurs, they do not have a proper credit background besides to help them out. They're all mostly their background is very limited there, and they do not have proper collaterals there. the creditworthiness, they're not substantiated creditworthiness. So MSME is facing problems here. And unlike your corporates or unlike your salaried class, they're all cyclical business activities. The cash flows are most erratic. They do not follow a systematic pattern there. So that's why it's difficult for the bankers also to analyze what type of finance there is required for them and how to structure their products. And MSME is facing problems because of this. The credit rating of these MSMEs is very low. That means very risky. So that's why they charge more as a risk premium for these accounts. They charge more. So these are the problems faced by the MSMEs. To address the issues of the MSMEs, so recently in the month of November, Prime Minister has announced certain packages for the MSME sectors. 12 packages, then once 12 key initiatives as taken by the Prime Minister in the November, as it has been announced as a Diwali gift for them. The first and foremost is a 59-minute loan. So 59-minute loan. So there is a portal called PSB loans in 59minutes.com. So whenever any MSME approaches, logs in to that PSB loans in 59minutes.com, so he'll be navigated through certain sectors. He has to provide all the inputs because this portal is linked with all the activities like GST. It is activated. It is a PAN card is activated. Aadhaar card is activated. All the government portals have been identified, have been linked to these PSB loans. With this, once a borrower logs into that PSB loans in 59minutes.com, within 1 hour, entire background of that borrower will be prepared. The credit report of that borrower will be prepared, and within 1 hour, he gets the sanction. That is less than 1 hour. That is 59 minutes. He gets the sanction, in principle sanction from the government. That sector. Then he will be directed to approach any of the banks there. So, but during last 3-4 months, there are the number of sanctions is high. The number of in principle sanctions is very high. But from there on, once he approaches the bank, again the usual delay is taking place. Only in principle sanction is getting a proper within a month, within 59 minutes. But thereafter, it is taking a longer time. The usual banking procedure is taking over, and banks are not keen on to sanction them, or banks have got certain other problems there, so they are not able to do this. So there is a gap between what is the in principle sanction and final sanction, because ultimately the final sanction comes from banks only. So only the in principle sanction, it is being faster, but other processes are getting delayed. In the initiatives, he has taken another initiative there. For the GST registered MSMEs, they'll get 2% subvention as that has been subsidy, like on the interest subsidy they'll be eligible. Where all the GST registered MSMEs, they'll get a 2% interest subvention. That is for whatever the incremental loan sanctioned, not for the existing accounts, but whatever the incremental MSMEs is sanctioned, whatever the incremental amount is sanctioned, amount and accounts also sanctioned for them, there's a 2% interest subvention is available. So this is in addition to the export subvention there. Export subvention, now it has been increased from 3% to 5% interest subvention. So MSME sectors, one is for the domestic sector, the 2% subvention is available. For the export oriented units, the interest subvention has been increased from 3% to 5%. Now the MSMEs, as we discussed, they are facing problems in terms of realization of the debtors. To address the issue, the government has started a new platform for that is a trade receivable e-discounting system. That is a trades system where that will be discussing how the trades system works. Here, the government has made it mandatory for all the companies above 500 crores to join in this e-trade trades system, so that MSMEs do not face a problems. All the corporates with 500 crores and above turnover, that it is mandatory to join trade system. What are the advantages, disadvantages? What are the advantages in the trade system? We'll be discussing it in subsequently. Now, government's another initiative is all public sector companies have been mandated to take 25% of the inputs from the MSME sector. They have been mandated. It's compulsorily they should buy from the MSME sector up to 25% of their requirement, and of which women entrepreneurs, wherever women enterprises MSMEs are there, for them from them 3% additionally it has to be taken from the women entrepreneurs. So another initiative taken by the government is all public sector enterprises will have to take a membership from the government e-marketplace for the procurement of common goods. On their website, they will be announcing what are the policies, what are the goods to be purchased by them, and all. They'll be joining this government e-marketplace. So all the public sector undertakings, they need to put it up on their website, and then have to link to the government e-marketplace. Whoever, all the government public sector undertaking, they need to link this site to the government e-marketplace. So all the procurements will be taken from the government e-marketplace. So this also helps the MSME farmers, the MSME borrowers to sell their products. And for technological upgradation, government has given 6,000 crore package for upgradation. Up to 70% of the amount is being given as a subsidy. So about 100 tool rooms, there is a spokes have been developed. So this is helping the MSME sector to upgrade the MSME units. So for pharma companies, the another platform is the MSME pharma clusters, where 70% of their amount will be given as a subsidy. So clusters, only wherever pharma clusters are there. So wherever the pharma activity is there, they will be developing the clusters there. For them also, about 70% of the cost is being borne by the government to establish these pharma clusters. As I discussed with you, there are about 116 returns to be filed annually by the any MSME unit. In lieu of all this, there is only one return has to be filed for 8 labor laws and 10 central laws together. They need to file only one annual return. It's not mandatory to file monthly or quarterly. It is made it yearly. All these returns have been combined into one return. They need to file only once annually. And here, because the 60 government agencies are involved to give the licenses to the MSME sector, there used to be one inspector or the other. Every day they used to come to the unit and they used to harass the MSME sector. Not only harassment, the cost, because there is only one promoter or two people are working there. So the entire time and energy is being used for the giving the information to the inspector only. To avoid this, the government has given a mandate to all the government agencies where the inspectors will be coming on a random basis. They'll be selected on a random basis. Not like the same inspector will be coming and inspecting the units every time. So they have a lobby there. So to cut it short, the inspectors have been interested with the work of inspection on a computerized random basis. They do not know which inspector is going to which unit, etc. So it will avoid the problem. Not only that, within 2 hours of inspecting the units, you have to upload the report to their website. So this is the another major relaxation for the MSME sector. And now for clearances of pollution, air pollution and water pollution, both the two departments are working independently. And now, as per the new policy, only one license is required from both the departments put together. That is water and air pollution. Only one certificate is enough. And these MSMEs, whenever the corporate problems are there, wherever they have certain issues with the corporate companies law. So Companies Act 1963, 1956 or 2013. So companies have been amended. So where if the MSME borrowers are facing certain problems there in the Companies Act, so they need not approach the court. So they can, with a simple minor changes, it can be adjusted, made in the company's law itself. So no offenses can be made under this Companies Act violation there. So these are the certain benefits given by the Prime Minister during the November 2018. So we have discussed what is the importance of MSME sector. So what is the importance? What are the problems being faced by the MSME sector? Now you may ask why banks should give finance to the MSME sector. One is there are priority sector targets to be achieved. Now we'll discuss what is the priority sector classification and all. So we'll be able to achieve 40% priority sector targets by financing to the MSME sector. Because they're all small units, we can cover more number of people. So the portfolio is diversified. The risk is diversified. So even if one corporate borrower fails, 100 crores gone. With 100 crores, you can finance about maybe 500 people. Even out of 500, even 10% people fail. 10% unit become NPA. Still 90% units are covering. So that means the risk is spread over. The rate of default will be lower in terms of your MSME sector. So banks can also have skilled people. So there is additional employment for the skilled people here. And you can help the MSME borrowers to tap the export markets, giving a service to them, giving additional inputs to them. You can make them enabled to tap the export markets. With the additional finance, you can upgrade their production techniques. So more efficiently, the machinery can be engaged. More competitive rates, more effective rates can be, more effective products can be done at a cheaper cost. As we discussed, about 30% of GDP is being contributed by the MSME. So with additional finance, more and more units can be covered under this. So additional GDP can be done with this MSME units. So with the bank finance, it is profitable to the banking sector as well as to the borrowers also. For bankers, it is profitable because the spread is high compared to corporate accounts. Even if the spread on the MCLR rate is above 1%, 2%, you can cover, you can get more profit by financing MSME sector. For companies also, but that MSME units also, it is available at a cheaper cost. Instead of going to the NBFCs or instead of going to the money lenders, they can tap the bank loan at a cheaper cost. So it is a win-win situation for both banks as well as for the MSME sector. So these are the advantages financing the MSME sector. And what are the targets for the MSME finance? So we told you that by covering MSME sector, you can cover, meet the MSME, the priority sector targets. So what are the targets for the MSME? So the target for the MSME is 7.5% of adjusted net bank credit must be given to the micro enterprises. It is a mandatory. This is a mandatory target. That is a 7.5% of your net bank credit should be given to the micro enterprises. Under PM's task force on MSME, 20% on year-on-year growth to be given to the micro enterprises and small enterprises, not medium. It is micro and small enterprises. So 10% annual growth in terms of numbers, and 60% of total lending to MSME sector should be given to the micro enterprises. Suppose you are giving finance to 100 units, 100 lakhs, let's say, to the MSME unit, 60% of that lending should be given to the micro sector. So whatever the amount you are covering, that is a micro, small and medium enterprises, whatever the finance you are giving to these sectors, it is automatically covered under priority sector. The entire amount is covered under priority sector. Whatever may be the amount, even if you give 10 crores, 20 crores, 25 crores, absolutely there's no restriction on the amount of finance given to the MSME. So the entire amount is covered under priority sector. So another area is, suppose by giving the finance, the MSME units will be upgraded, let's say from micro to medium, or medium to large corporate. So this classification of micro, small, or medium enterprise will be holding good for 5 years, even though they cross the limits of investment in plant and machinery or equipment. So what are the common guidelines for the MSME sectors? One is the tariff schedule. What are the interest rates? What are the service charges, etc.? They need to be given in the bank's website. The service charges circular should be uploaded in the bank's website. That should be available. So based on that, the MSME borrowers can approach which bank to be approached for the bank finance. Who is cheaper? Whose service charges are better, etc. They can make a comparison and they can approach the banks. And what are the documents required for the MSME borrowers? They should be streamlined. Instead of asking the borrower every time, if he comes here today, you give him a list of 5 documents. Again, after 5 days, you will give another 5 documents list. So to avoid all these problems, you provide out what are the documents required from MSME borrower that needs to be put up in the website of the bank. And after getting an application, you must give an acknowledgement to the bank, the borrower. The due acknowledgement has to be given there. And the amount of limit, suppose up to 5 lakhs, only 2 weeks maximum you can take, not more than that. Within 2 weeks, you must either say yes or no to the borrower, whether you sanction or reject the application. And if at all, if you are rejecting the application, you must give a valid reasons why you are giving the rejection. And if at all is to be sanctioned, within 2 weeks, the loan has to be sanctioned and documentation has to be completed. Okay. And between 5 lakhs and 25 lakhs, maximum of 3 weeks you can take, not more than that. About 25 lakhs, up to 6 weeks. That means 1.5 months. You can max to max 1.5 months you can take for giving a sanction. And whenever any interest rate is changed, whenever any terms of sanction are changing after sanction, those changes have to be informed to the borrower, either through mail or SMS. Whatever is the mode available, you must inform the borrower. And the role of credit information companies, maybe it could be the CIBIL, it could be Experian, etc. So these companies, they have the role of their CACs has to be informed to them. So what is the score? Maybe if you want a 650, 750, 800 score, etc. For the individuals or for corporates also, you can see what is the what are the guidelines for the CICs that need to be incorporated there. And whenever any account is slipping to the substandard level or NPA level, that needs to be informed to the borrower immediately. And the loan policy of the bank should have all these policies in their website. MSME policies should be given, should be available on the website. For all micro, small enterprises, the rehabilitation measures has to be uploaded in the website. And CGST is SME. No processing fees for up to 5 lakhs. So what are the facilities we are providing? SIDBI is providing. So National Equity Funding Scheme, Technology Upgradation, and Single Window Scheme, Composite Loan Scheme, Mahila Udyam Scheme, etc. These are the schemes available for different schemes from SIDBI. So they are available for these MSMEs. Venture capital, ISO certification. For getting ISO certification, what are the documents required? What is the cost, etc. They need to be funded by the SIDBI. And micro credit scheme, etc. These are the schemes given by the MSME, by the SIDBI for the MSME borrowers. So the facilities given to the MSMEs are fund-based activities or non-funded based activities. Fund-based, so maybe it could be the term loans, and for purchase of machinery, etc. The term loans can be given. And for the composite, there's a working capital, so you can give running expenditure, recurring expenditure, etc. The working capital also, again, it will be overdraft, maybe against fixed deposit, against LIC policies, etc. The current account will be overdrawn, and the cash credit, a certain limit can be given for the procurement of material, etc., raw material, receivables, etc. And bill financing, whenever any invoices are generated, bills can be discounted. Maybe it could be the LC backed bills or non-LC backed bills, so they can be discounted here. And export credit, for them we provide the pre-shipment credit, that is before shipment of the goods, procurement of raw material, labor expenses, etc. They can be covered under pre-shipment. Post-shipment we can cover after shipment of the goods, maybe bill discounting, etc. We can give for the export credit. For non-funded facilities, we can give for the letter of credit. We can give letter of credit can be revolving credit, or it can be the red clause letter or green clause LC, etc. So this letter of credit have got different facilities. So based on your requirement, based on the borrower's requirement, you can give a proper LC credit facility. For bank guarantees, again, you can give performance bank guarantees or financial guarantees or deferred payment guarantees. And for bills also, you can give a similar to that a guarantee. You can give a guarantee for the bills payment. Whenever the bills are accepted by the buyer, so you accept those bills also.